Hi everybody, I'm Guys Chamberlain, and welcome to this episode of Bonsai Answers. I'm here in the suburbs of Washington, D.C., and it's that time of year. Leaves are falling, temperatures are dropping, so it's time to take care of your trees, bring the tropical ones indoors, and put the outdoor trees to bed for the winter. So we're going to talk about winterizing your bonsais. Now you'll need to determine the best time for you to winterize your trees. I usually try to do mine in November, usually before Thanksgiving. But you should begin winterizing your trees when your deciduous trees start to drop all of their leaves. And you can also refer to the USDA's plant hardiness zone map to find out what zone you're in. And that can give you an idea, or at least give you some search opportunities to find out when people around you are winterizing their trees. For this project, you're going to need a number of materials that you can get at your local Lowe's, Home Depot, or Home and Garden Center hardware store. The first thing you're going to need is plastic sheeting. I bought Husky plastic sheeting. It cost me $12.50 at Home Depot. Several bags of mulch, depending on how many trees you're going to cover. Those are about $3.50 a bag. Fairing strips. So if you're using the four corners of a pergola or four corners of a structure, you'll need at least four. I have mine so that they're 4 feet each. So I bought two 8-foot pieces and cut them in half. Those are about $1.97 for an 8-foot piece. You'll need exterior screws. Those are about $9.37. And depending on whether you have a helper, you might need to buy a clamp. You can get one for between $6 and $20, depending on what you're going to be using it for and what size you need. In this instance, I'm going to provide shelter for the trees within my pergola. The first thing I need to do is to clear the ground space. So I use my rake to clear it off, make it as level as possible to provide good ground contact for the tree and to make sure that I provide for proper drainage. Now you'll want to have adequate ground contact between the bottom of the pot and the ground. Together with the mulch that we will use, this will allow the tree to enjoy some of the heat that comes from the ground geothermally. In my zone, about 6 feet under the ground, it's 55 degrees year round. And so as heat rises, it comes up, and the mulch will help to keep a lot of the heat in, and also having the pot at the on the ground with direct contact to the ground helps it absorb that heat and keeps the roots warm and safe. As much as possible, you're going to want to try to keep the space even between the trees so that snow and water can reach each pot, as well as some of the sunlight. The trees are in a dormant state, and they really don't need a lot of water, so you shouldn't need to be watering your trees during the winter. I guess there could be circumstances where you've had a really dry spell where you could give them some water, but make sure that you only do that when it's over 50 degrees. You don't want that water freezing in the roots of the tree. Your trees should get all the water that they need from the rains that you have over the winter and some from the snow that ends up melting down. So adding mulch to the base of the trees as well as on top of the pot, it helps the plant to retain moisture from the rain and snow, and it also, as I said, helps to keep in the geothermal heat from the ground below as it rises. What you want to do is you want to place the mulch on top of the pot and on this around the sides. This will help to keep the roots safe, and again, the roots are the most important part of the tree because those are the ones that are most sensitive to the cold. You don't want to pile too much on, and you don't want to get the mulch on top of the tree's leaves, just around the base of the pot and on top of where your bonsai soil is. You want the trees to be somewhere between 25 degrees and 42 degrees Fahrenheit. Above 42, and the trees start to begin to try to grow, and you don't want that happening during the winter because then when it freezes again, it can cause damage to the trees. Also, you don't want them to get below 25 degrees because that's when you find freezing injuries happening to the trees and their roots. Again, also, dormant trees don't really need a lot of sunlight. They're basically asleep. And so there are opportunities where you can put them so where they don't get sunlight during the winter, but you're going to need to provide some sunlight in the spring as they come out of their dormancy. But the sun's not going to hurt them. If the way I have my structure, they get sunlight every day, so it doesn't hurt them. But again, if you're in a situation where you can't provide them a lot of sunlight during the winter, that should be okay. Okay, so we've done what we set out to do. We've buried the pots in mulch. We've covered them on the top and on the sides, and they're ready for bed. Now what we need to do is use our plastic sheeting to put around the structure to provide some type of wind protection. Now ideally you'd like to have a helper, but if you don't, do your best to use a clamp like this to hold the sheeting in place while you attach the wood to hold it in place. All right, let's do that. Okay, now the sheeting that I'm using is by Husky. It's just called Husky plastic sheeting, and this is comes in 3 foot by 50 feet. For my structure, it's about 12 feet across, so this will give you a lot of coverage. The other thing I'm using is wooden pieces of wood. These are called fairing strips. Ideally, you'd like to get them pressure treated, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the plastic up and then just fasten this to the post to hold them in place. Now you'd like to pre-drill your holes so that these don't split on you. And so I'm going to go ahead and start putting them in. You're going to take the plastic, you're going to unroll a length of it, and then you're going to stretch it out and wrap it around your first post. Wrap it around a couple times to hold it somewhat tight, and then have your friend hold the plastic in place or use a clamp. You're then going to take one of the fairing strips. Now you should pre-drill the holes that you're going to put in the fairing strips because these often split. So pre-drill your hole and then place the fairing strip up against the plastic and to the 4x4 or whatever the structure is that you're going to fasten it to. Just put the screw into the hole, drill it in, and that should hold the plastic in place tightly for the whole winter. And one of the things that's good is that because you're buying pressure treated wood, and exterior screws, you can use the same screws, plastic, and fairing strips for several years. I've used some of mine for 8 years, and they're still holding up very well. Sometimes you're going to find a tree that's a little bit too big to fit into your storage place. So like this one is just way too big to fit in there. It would almost take up a third of the thing. So you have to find an alternate means of protecting it. So I'm just going to take it over and put it behind one of my big trees over here, and it'll have the fence as protection as well as the tree. Some nice shelter. The tree provides a shelter as well as a fence, and it's still able to get light coming down this way. So here we are with our finished project, and we got the plastic up, We've got the trees inside, all nicely buried, nicely spaced so they can get light and rain and snow. And we've got the plastic up as protection from the wind. This only took about 25 minutes to put the trees in and the mulch down, and about 15 minutes for the plastic. Pretty simple and easy when you know how to do it. And you can repeat next year, use the same pieces of wood, same plastic, and so your costs are pretty much done. They should last you 5 to 10 years. Now this is just one example of how you can winterize your trees and provide protection for them over the winter. There are a number of other ones. Many are just more natural. Some people just go and they dig a hole and they take the plant out of its pot and they plant it in the ground and just leave it in the ground till the spring. Another thing that some people do is they dig a pit. So they'll dig, like, let's say a square pit, and let's say 4 feet down, and then they just put all their bonsai pots down into that pit and cover the base of the pot with leaves, and then they just leave it there. Now, if you're going to do something like that, you might want to buy some pressure treated lumber and put that on the sides of the pit, because you don't want the rain and snow to cause that pit to collapse in on your trees. You're going to want to make sure that you have enough drainage there, because you definitely don't want water collecting in there and getting into the bottom of your pots and causing the roots to rot. Another alternative is to do something like this. This is what my neighbor does. Instead of building a cold frame, he simply finds a place behind his long grass and covers the pot with leaves. The long grass and the wall provide natural protection and is able to get sunlight and water and snow. So this is when you're able to do it on the cheap, or you don't have enough trees to really justify building a frame. I want to thank you for watching this video, and I hope you found it very helpful. I'd like to invite you to visit our website at bonsaianswers.com. Have a great day.